Hey everybody, welcome to Tattooed in Business. I am your host, Brian Merrill, and this is Life in Business through the eyes of a Gen X male who happens to be in corporate sales for the last about 20 years, and these are the life lessons I've learned through witnessing, doing, and failing and succeeding over the years. So I want to do this tonight while this was fresh in my head, and I'll probably wind up doing two casts this week. So first of all, for some reason I decided that uh, I was getting a little off track on some things in life, and I happened to find my favorite hat today. And as you guys can see, it's this thing's probably, I don't know. Well, my kids can tell you. I think it's like 8 years old now, but it's my Dilligoff hat. And this, I remember, I'll never forget the day I got this hat. It was a really fun weekend, and it also turned out to be one of the um, I guess changing moments in my life weekend because I took my so I was going through the divorce process, and my kids and I decided to call an audible one weekend, and we decided to go to Lake George for the weekend. And my daughter, son, and I, first time really kind of getting away by ourselves, right? So we went in and we went to the shop, this Dilligoff shop, and we bought a bunch of stuff. And I'm thinking I'm having this great weekend with my kids. Well, my daughter and I wound up having a little bit of an argument the next day because I thought she was being awfully hard on my son, and I yelled at her pretty good in public and everything. And that would be the last weekend I'd seen my daughter that she came over and seen me for six, well, over 6 years, and it was so like I used to wear this hat constantly. As you see, it's pretty freaking beat, right? Um, but it was like, you think about these things and it's kind of a reminder. But the whole idea, like when we're on it, for those of you who don't know what Dilligoff means, it means, do I look like I give a fuck? It's not a real word. You know what I mean? So people kind of, some people know it, some people don't. But so I was kind of reflecting on some things. I had a great conversation yesterday with a guy that I met in in Dallas Fort Worth last year in September at the Badass Business Summit, which is coming up again in the Fort Worth area um, in September as well. And I met this guy Sean Crane, and I think I've talked about him on here before, but he told us a story. And this is a man who went to prison for a crime he didn't commit for 7 years, and he's changed his whole life, reflections and everything. And we've stayed in contact since then. He's I mean, he has his book I've read. It's on audiobooks now. Uh, I mean, he's written up some workout programs for me. We've gone back and forth on some things. And it's funny is I put a post up on my Facebook in my story a couple of days ago, I think it was. And apparently I didn't realize that people were thinking that something was up with me. And so I had a few people reach out to me, ask me if everything was good. And I'm sitting there like that, feeling really great. And I'm talking with Sean yesterday, and he's talking to me about how, how's the workout going? He's a very positive person. And he must have been picking up on something that I really been kind of burying and stuff. And I realized that I do need to learn how to decompress after work. Like I do all my workout and all my stuff in the morning, but I'm not releasing that stress in the evening at the end of my day from the day, and that's starting to cause some sleep issues again and stuff. So anyhow, so long story short is him and I, we talked for a while before I had to go, and reconnected and stuff. And then I had another friend of mine. She had reached out to me a couple of days, prior, asking me kind of the same thing, and I look back at my texts that I was sending, and I'm like, seeing, wow, man, I seem like I'm kind of standoffish and resistant in this, and not even picking up on it and what's going on. So it's about the self awareness and reflection. And I've talked about it several times in here about being self aware and everything, and the need to be. But it happens to everybody where you lose that, and like so when I'm talking about some of the things that I've witnessed and seen, I don't want people to think like I'm putting myself on the pedestal and I don't do that. Guys, I've been that guy in the room who's at a networking event that's had a few too many drinks, that's running his mouth, that's, is turning people off and turning people away. And, it really, it comes from the only reason I can see other people doing it is because I've done it and I've been there and had these things myself, and I've self reflection or having a coach or mentor who's pointed these things out. So where I'm coming from when I do my podcast is, this again, this isn't for everybody. If you don't like what you hear or see or whatever, that's fine, man. You have a right to have an opinion. Everyone's got them, and everyone deserves to have them, and I'm totally cool with that. And if you hate my guts, that's fucking fine too. Or if you think I'm out of line or I'm wrong, that's fine. You can tell me. I mean, I'm a person who believes in everyone's right to have their opinion of free speech, and no matter whether you agree or disagree with me. Well, so that being said, I wanted to share. So I had this great conversation with Sean, and unfortunately, I had to go because I was, it's funny. Like kind of the other day, I was going to this networking event, and I was kind of thinking, shit, man, do I want to go? And um, and sorry, just gonna turn off my ringer here. But and I like to think about it. And we were going to it's a women's network, women owned business networking group, but they had an open networking night. And you know, they worked, everyone worked really hard that put it together to make it, really nice and everything. So I just want to say, like, so when I went to this, Tanya Robinson is our president, knocked it out of the fucking park, man. Like the turnout was amazing. I can't speak for everybody else, but I had people coming up to me asking me for my business card and things, and and so I did. I mean, I was very comfortable with it. And one of the things that I tell people is, like for her to go ahead and put on this event and see it, handle the arrangements. Yes, she has some people that helped her out, but she's ultimately doing this, and she's always very gracious. Make sure she thanks people and everything. So that's always when you can tell the sign of a true leader or someone who um, deserves to be where they're at. And so she knocked it out of the park. Great time, great show up. And one of the things that we kind of we talk about is we talk about your fears, right? And how you know in life how we all have fear whether we want to admit it or not. There's things that we're afraid of. There's things that are holding us back in our life. There's things that we don't want to talk about. And when you get an opportunity like this, you got to seize the moment. And so Tanya was doing her thing, and she's not like I mean, she at some point, yes, promoted her business a little bit, but that was not the intent of the event. That's not what the goal was. The goal was to try to build the organization, reach out to other people. How can we help? The education that we got from some of the speakers, opportunities that are out there was amazing. Um, and it really, I personally took a lot out of it. I hope everyone else did. But I also had a chance to kind of open up for the first time. It's taken me a while and tell people part of my story about this podcast and why I still do it and how it got started, why I'm still doing it, and what I hope to accomplish about it. And I admit, when you do these podcasts, you are supposed to be doing things to talk about your business and help set yourself up or other people, input to help you get to where you want to go. I started this with a gentleman, John Bukowski, who pulled me out of a dark spot and convinced me to start doing these Facebook Lives we used to do every Sunday. And the minute I agreed to it, he literally died. It was either the next day or 2 days later. It was July 5th. And when he did, I I went right back into that. And then the first one I did, I'm very thankful. His widow Nancy reached out to me and thanked me, told me this is what he wanted, and then I completely went back into that shell for almost a year. Well, actually, I guess it was over a year, and it took a lot for me to get the nerve up to go back and do it. And then so I'm telling briefly little bit of my story about how it got to this point and all this. And as I go sit down, one of the guys that works there, which by the way did a hell of a job with the catering, the food was awesome. He kind of approached me and he says, "Hey, I heard part of your story," and kind of asked me some questions. And he says, "I hope you don't mind." I'm like, "No, this is why I do this." And he asked me how I got through some things, and I said, and I started talking to him about it. And which was funny is earlier in that day, I'm having that conversation with Sean and how I get through things. And he's pointing out to me, "You're doing really excellent here, but here's where you're still dropping the ball. And this is why you're not quite where you're at in life. And let's talk again. We're basically, uh, you know, we'll figure this out together if you want to do it. Are you ready to commit to changing your lifestyle?" So for people who don't know, I touched base on it. My son completely life changing turnaround, working out, changing his diet. So dad did too, because I'm not going to be the reason my son falls off. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just as important for me to take away the temptations that were leading to whatever it is that was making his lifestyle or unhealthy, to take it out. So like, and I tell you people, and I freaking go nuts at night. First of all, we don't have any soda anymore in the house. No alcohol, which was tough for me. So and there's no candies, cakes, cookies, any of that stuff. The sweetest thing I get to eat at night is if I have like some peanut butter. So, um, but and then of course we have a lot of protein bars and stuff, and so it's been a complete lifestyle change the last over 30 days, which led to my post. And I didn't realize people took my post as I was, I don't know, depressed or whatever. But reality is I guess I have been, and that fear of opening up and again being vulnerable was starting to kick in again. So when I go to the event last night, um, Tanya is emceeing it, and then she says, we're going to go around the room, and she asked, people to speak, like we normally do in our meeting, and so we had our guests there, and they did their thing, and then she asked me if I would go ahead. And first of all, I always, I always got your back. I hope you know that in any event, anything like that, I got your back. I'll support you any way you need me to help. I'm there to help you. And I truly believe that when I feel like a partner with somebody, or I feel somehow attached to somebody or whatnot, or supportive, I'll always have your back. Actually, I have one of my GY6 shirts that on the back says, we might, we'll talk about it in the morning, but I always have your back. And it's one of our sayings. But so I got up there and I opened up, and I made it completely vulnerable. And I decided to just kind of show some of the dark parts of, what got me to where I'm at, and share it with this huge group of people that they probably, they could be judging me, ignoring me, doesn't really matter. But I opened up, and I, what I felt was positive results back. And I felt like it kind of helped other people get up out of their shell and stuff. And so they weren't making it just about their business. People in this group, what I like about this, first of all, we do have men in the group, okay? Uh, and we have some people sign up again for the group. And what I felt the whole goal, or the whole reason for me to do it, is to help other people feel empowered if you don't feel that way. And sometimes it's very hard because, especially being, we all talked about um, the things in life that we go through. But being a male, everyone thinks it's just so easy, right? We get all these things that are supposed to be easy for it. But let me tell you what it's like being a single father, and who was a father. I mean, my son lived with me. I didn't. I wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, you know, people who have their kids every other weekend or whatever. I'm not going there. What I'm saying is, my son lived with me 24/7, and I was a single father who had a sales job, who I was on the road all day, and he was young, and it wasn't, being a single parent is not a gender thing. and I'm going to steal from Lori Sites, it's a human thing. We all have to learn how to deal with, the things when you get a divorce or separation, and especially if you have kids, and how you have to change and adapt both roles. No matter which you are, a mother or father, you need to adapt both roles, or just beyond say the role is parent. Period. It's not parent is not a gender thing. It's a human thing, as Lori would say. And to go through this, being this, the single parent, and being in a sales career where you don't have a steady income, it's all what you sell and everything. It can be nerve wracking. I've been doing it for quite a long time. So yes, I know how to manage, right? Um, but to go through you have all these fears, and deep down inside, the fear of failure is always going to be there for me. The fear of some type of acceptance is going to be there. Um, there's there's just different things that are never going to go away, or I still to this day are going to come back until I learn how to decompress and lose it. That stress of the day. So I get up in the morning, I work out, and I do all these things in the morning. But when I come home at night, what do I do? How do I decompress from the day there? Who do I talk to? So, as I mentioned earlier, I've had a lot of lifestyle style changes. And a year ago, this time, I was going to the bar, see, every Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday minimum, and hanging out with my friend, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I just found that it wasn't. I'm a person who, when I go, I tend to drink, 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 and I still can't keep up with these guys type mentality, and I don't. But reality is I had to take a step back and make some life decisions. Say, well, where does Brian want to be? Where does Brian want to go? So to come home at night every night and not go do that, to get to a point where um, I'm okay being home on Saturday and Sundays by myself and not doing stupid things. And it's gotten to the point where I'm comfortable being alone. And you have to be comfortable with these things. And comfortable um, isn't the end of it. Comfortable is being able to sit in that moment and deal with it. So how do you prosper from it? Well, that's my next journey. I had to realize that, talking with Sean and everything, to realize that there's the next step. I'm comfortable being alone, but okay, what blocks are you have? So I've reflected. I was talking with them, and I literally started breaking down because I started answering like, oh my God, this is what's really going on in my head. And right after that, the block into this network meeting, but it gave me the strength and courage to sit there and say, okay, where do you find your solace? Being there for other people, Brian. That's where you find your solace. And I'm sitting in that room, and I always say this: that room was packed, and I wasn't alone by any means. But in my head, I'm the loneliest man in that room, and that's a mentality that I can't get out of my head. No matter how much I do all this stuff and I'm successful in business, I struggle with the feeling of being alone, and it is in my head that I'm always alone, and or I didn't connect. And I'm literally sitting with Eddie Rahana, who has become a very close friend to me and my family. I mean, he treats my kids like they're his own. And as much as, I'm sitting next to this guy who's so supportive of me, great guy, love being around, keeps me smiling, keeps me laughing. And, and the same thing with Tanya and Janelle and the other girls. I mean, they keep me smiling, they keep me, moving forward. But reality, the minute I walk away from that, when nobody knows, is what I struggle with in my head. And it's, I, I'm a very just, I guess, lonely type of person mentally, even though I don't reflect it most times. So learning to deal with that, that's the next step. It's now I'm comfortable. Now, how do I prosper? So when you have these opportunities to learn these self lessons, you got to seize them. when you have the opportunity to grab the stage like Tanya did, you seize them. She's going to launch a whole new level of her career by doing this. That she's going to see. I'm making a prediction, by the way. And so that she's going to see that when it comes to her small business consulting is going to take off because of the way she organizes event. And as the more of these things she's going to see what I've already known about her from the first time I've started talking with her about this stuff. Is that's her power. Her power is her presence and ability to arrange these things. And I don't mean like event planning. I mean, yes, that's part of it, but beyond event planning, having a great social functioning like that and the ability to bring people together, whether it be networking or uh, just just getting out, her ability to do that, you watch. It's gonna be a very powerful uh, launching stage for her, is what happened last night. And I wanted to do this little brief um, live, and I'm gonna put this on my podcast, of course, because it's fresh in my head. It's and I sometimes I lose it. I take notes and all this stuff, and believe it or not, I actually do prepare a little bit for these things. But watching last night, I was talking about it today with my buddy Kevin, and the guys over at the shop, and kind of sharing what happened. Like man, like you could just feel the buzz and the energy in this room, and it was great. It was great, and I really think it was a very positive thing. And I hope I helped you out when I was there, or whatever I can do. And that being said, it's all about seizing the day, seizing the moment, every chance you get. You never know what's coming, but when you feel it and you can kind of see it coming, a lot of times it's when you're sitting with a customer. You should be able to feel that moment that it's time to seize it and then move forward. And I don't mean necessarily ask for the sale, ask for the next step. Find yourself. Are you a solution provider? Are you not? Which will be my next podcast. I wrote down a bunch of notes today talking about what our job really is in sales, and how to transition into stages and whatnot. So that's be coming up in the next one. But again, I thank anyone who's out there watching and listening. I know this isn't our normal time we do this stuff. Wanted to get it out there. Again, knocked it out of the park. Knocked it out of the park, Tanya. I really did. I really believe that. Can't wait for the next one. And for anybody who missed their opportunity to come out, I'm sure we'll do some other open networking opportunities, and highly encourage you to come out and check it out and see what's out there for you, and the opportunities you can have, and the power behind meeting the right people at the right time it's all about the law of attractions. It really is, guys. So on that note, everyone have a great night, and we hope to talk and hear from everybody out there, and have a great weekend if I don't talk to any of you before that, and take care. All right, goodbye.